Hey, man, it is Dukes and Bell, but it's just like Bell with Day Day today because Carl's got a trip to the doctor's office. Nothing serious. He'll be all right. He'll be on the show today. We got a special Friday edition. We're going to go a little bit later today. We're going to go to 6:30 because we got Hawks pregame. So we sync it up with that, and we'll talk some Hawks after that dreadful start to the season the other night. But our regular visit with Bryant McFadden, two-time Super Bowl winner, now on CBS TV and CBS Sports Network. So he'll join us. Also, we'll talk to Mark Raimondi from ESPN. He'll join us around 3 o'clock. And as always, Steve Koonin, Hawks CEO Day, will personally apologize for that dreadful, listless, flaccid performance by the Hawks opening night on Wednesday. So Day and me will start. I'll ask a question of you. Michael Penix Jr., we're going to find out today if he's limited in practice. If he doesn't practice, there's a good chance we will see Kirk Cousins on Sunday. Nothing to see, or all of a sudden we got smoke, and as the late Prince would say, controversy.
You know what? It's not a controversy in the sense of, look, this is the reason why we said back in the summertime, the show, we got to a point where we said, you know what? Scrap the trade Kirk Cousins talk, because the reality of it is he's the best backup in the NFL right now. Should anything go wrong with Michael Penix and we're in a position where we're competing in this league, then we would be in a position to put in a backup in Kirk Cousins that can help us sustain, where we're at. And right now, sitting at 3-3. If this knee issue is something where, look, the reality of it is the Dolphins are a bad team. Now, again, it's any given Sunday in the NFL. You can't let your guard down against anybody. Mike McDaniel and them still know how to scheme up great offensively, but they have been performing poorly. So the Falcons need to buckle down defensively. Don't let this team get any type of momentum. And if we got to go with Kirk Cousins just to keep Michael Penix, just to give him a little extra time to make sure whatever's wrong with his knee is properly healed, he's 100%. I'd rather do that, and I don't see it as a controversy. People shouldn't see it as a controversy. People should see it as we are in a win-win situation with a backup in Kirk Cousins.
What people should see and what they will see are two different things. We talked about it yesterday. Got some guys fired up like, why you say it's a controversy? Why are you starting this stuff? I go, because it's the NFL. And when it's one thing if this was, some journeyman, if we had Jacoby Brissett coming off the bench, there's nothing. Okay, he starts one game, it's back to Penix Jr. But when it's a $45 million man, it's Kirk Cousins, it's all that entails. And look, Cousins, he had his physical stuff. He didn't want to talk about it at the time. He then later said, yeah, I was hurt. I was upset. We had a chance to talk off mic up at Falcons. And I said, hey, man, I'm sorry if I came on like a jerk. He goes, hey, you got a job to do. I'd love to see Cousins get back in there if Penix isn't 100%. But the problem is if Cousins comes in and the offense starts looking like a Swiss watch, which it has at times, although Penix admittedly, and he talked about it yesterday, we played the audio, Michael Penix Jr. says, I've got to be better. I look at the tape, even when we're winning, there's things I got to do. I've got to be more accurate. I don't like Zach Robinson's play calling. I don't like Zach Robinson's approach. It looks great when you execute like anything else. Dave Archer told us that. And we spoke with Coach on Wednesday. There's a lot of things I think we should be doing differently, leaning more into the run game. Don't quit on the run game when teams get out physicals. Like we're the first team that got punched in the mouth, and that's it. Okay, just throw it 38 times. I can't truck with that, Day. So getting back to Cousins, if he was there against San Francisco, he might have been a greasy spot on the backfield too, because he's not the most mobile guy. But the Dolphins, I just don't think have the capability to do what the 49ers do. This game, to me, feels a lot more like the Bills game. But to Day's point, Kirk has been a good soldier. There's been no controversy. There's been not a whimper of anything. He said all the right things. He's been supportive of Penix Jr. So Kirk can come in, deliver the goods. We get to 4-3. And if we're honest, I think a lot of Falcon fans, when they looked at this schedule, we didn't expect to maybe win or lose some of the games, but 4-3, I think, is probably where Falcon fans thought we'd be. Is that where you thought we'd be?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, again, no team on this schedule early on was a gimme, and then things changed up with Jaden Daniels obviously getting hurt. No one really picked the Bills game for us to win. So I think we're sitting around right where we should be sitting right now.
We'll talk plenty with Mark Raimondi from ESPN because in addition to Michael Penix Jr., Divine Deablo, coach told us he was, sort of week to week But he also told the media in the media scrum that, there's a chance he could go on IR. And that really hurts because nothing against J.D. Bertrand, a local high school product who went to Notre Dame. Great young man, but he's just not as athletic as Divine Deablo when it comes to coverages. So you may see Bertrand in the run situations, and that's what the coach told us. And then we get to passing downs, you might see DeMarco Helms in there. And again, Billy Bowman, this would be a great chance to give Billy some extra work in a nickel or dime package. He's banged up. We had a lot of guys on the injury report. Yeah. Now, some of these guys were limited. Jake is still not 100%, but he's going to go. But we have to shuffle the deck. Good news is we got Storm Norman back. We'll talk more about the injury report. The latest one will drop today about 4:30 on the show. And as we said, we'll talk to ESPN's Mark Raimondi. But we do have to shuffle some things around today, Day. And as you said, even though Coach looks like he's the captain of the Titanic, he can still design some stuff. And without Divine Deablo, that could be some trouble.
Yeah, and that's why I think more importantly this time around, it's going to be the defense that has to make sure that they kind of regroup. Not that they played terrible last week against San Francisco, but they did not adjust.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't adjust in that run game in regards to Christian McCaffrey. And that's something, look, HN for Miami, that kid's a dog. Now, he's not blowing it out the water like a Christian McCaffrey or Bijan, but the kid can still, if you can get him going, if Miami can get him going, he can be dangerous. So I think this is a situation where the Falcons got to regroup, make sure they tighten things up in the run game. Look, Dolphins only averaged 92.4 yards a game on the ground, right, which is fourth to last in the NFL. All right, let's keep them right where they're at. JD Bertrand, look, he said in the presser yesterday, reading an article from Orlando Ledbetter, he's ready to step up to this challenge, and he feels comfortable. He feels like maybe now he'll have kind of more of a one particular role instead of multiple roles that he can focus on this week. So let's see if that works in his favor. But again, this team offensively, talking about the Dolphins, they have not done well, and we cannot be the get right team for them this week.
Also, Bryant McFadden, his weekly visit with us last night. What do you think of Thursday Night Football before we get to the college side? Thought, and Carl liked the Chargers, didn't bet it, but he liked the Chargers, pointing out the Vikings were coming off a lot of road trip from the Europe trip all the way cross country to LA. A lot of Vikings fans did make the trip, but the Chargers going to like the backup running back got the job done. That's why I love Harbaugh. Harbaugh, he much like Shanahan, he can make lemonade with some lemons. But great day for Herbert, great day for that Chargers defense. And I don't know what the Vikings, thought they were going to be without J.J. McCarthy. Carson Wentz, this is his third act, ain't good.
Yeah, nah, it isn't, man. And, obviously getting Alt back for the Chargers was major for that offense. I mean, they just look good. They almost look like they hadn't skipped a beat once he came back in there. So I was thinking about Carl immediately, though, because I was like, man, Carl said he liked them. He should have took the bet. That way he would have been 1-0 coming into today.
And he was on fire. I mean, he's been on a hot streak. He's got a heater, 6-0. But I just thought that would be weak sauce if he puts it out there that I bogart it. You know what I mean? It's like, do your research, as Thomas Dimitrov once told a good friend of ours. So the Chargers moved to 5-3. We'll ask BMAC about the playoff picture because, the AFC, a lot of teams that, going to be vying that, we weren't maybe expecting. Some teams, the Ravens season's kind of gone off the rails, and the Steelers are still in the mix, but maybe don't pass the eye test. We'll talk to BMAC about that. All right, last time.
I know we'll talk about our picks too, Mike. I'm sorry, real quick. Yeah. I was thinking about taking that game, by the way, that Steelers. Ooh. They're a 2.5 dog at home. And I don't know, man. Something don't set right with me about that one. I feel like I might ride the Steelers on that one. Just FYI.
Right. Potential playoff preview. The same weekend, the Falcons are in Germany. The Steelers are the Sunday night game. Traveling to, I'm sure there'll be a lot of Steelers. No, it's at Pittsburgh. It's it's the Chargers. It's Chargers hosting Pittsburgh. A lot of Steeler fans. You know how people take over SoFi, but that could be a preview. Of either wild card or divisional playoff round. All right. Speaking of football, we'll slide over to the college side. Georgia Tech. Last year, they got up to 2-0 start. They basically out-physical Florida State. They beat Georgia State. And, Brent Key made a comment just basically saying, hey, we trust our physicality late in games. Well, if you remember, Fran Brown, disciple of Kirby Smart, took this very simple statement, innocuous, nothing, a slight at all about Syracuse, and turned this into bulletin board material and said, Georgia Tech thinks they can come up here and push us around. Not happening. It went to the wire. It was a 31-28 game. Haynes King had to throw for over 250 yards in the losing effort. But to me, half of that Syracuse team is gone, including the starting quarterback. They're on a backup this year. I don't think Georgia Tech sweats this. You worry about this game with Syracuse only because Fran Brown had them so ready last time.
I mean, that would be my only thing. I think Syracuse, to your point with Fran Brown, the way he can rally the troops, you know, this time around, it'll be like they think they got us because we're missing so many guys. They don't think the rest of you can step up to the challenge, something along those lines. So he'll have them coming out ready to play. I think the number is 16 and a half. Tech a favorite. That scares me a little bit, not going to lie,
Right.
because look, Tech is a great, again, physical team, but I said it before. I think they got to start getting more out of Jamal Haynes and more other pieces in the run game. I just
Right.
don't know how long you can rely on. It's only a matter of time before teams try to take Haynes King running ability out of the mix and make him try to beat you over the top. So, not saying
Right.
that's going to happen this time around, but other than that line, I'm not so much worried about Tech not being able to come away with a win in this one.
Some of the other college games we're going to preview. Is LSU going to lose another game? Is this where Elko and Texas A&M come off the rails like they did last year against South Carolina? To me, that's one of the most compelling matchups. Texas A&M going to Death Valley at night, and Brian Kelly getting so much heat. Again, I was a big fan of Elko. Saw him coaching Duke against Florida State. They just physically manhandled FSU this couple of years ago. So I was like, okay, this guy kind of gets it, kind of a Brent Key type approach. And so you know that they'll be ready. But man, if Kelly loses another one in the SEC, first off, playoff hopes are gone.
Right.
And then, they're going to start talking about now LSU will be in the mix for who? Lane Kiffin. I mean, it seems like everybody wants Lane Kiffin, but Tim, what do you think, man? LSU going to rally? The run game is still a bit suspect.
I tell you what, man, this is the perfect opportunity for LSU to bow up, man. I mean, you got Texas A&M, because I was going to say on the flip side, how big of a win is this for for Texas A&M to
Right.
go into Death Valley, a night game, like you said? And if they come out of there with a victory, man, Mike, like at this point, we're looking at them possibly finishing out the number one seed, the number one team in the SEC, man.
Oof, because we know Texas A&M is tough and physical, and they're number 3 right now, as you said, number 3 in the country. Ole Miss only slipped to 8 after losing to Georgia. They go to Oklahoma. That's a noon. That's a tricky game for Ole Miss. Coming off
Yeah.
the Georgia game, they don't have a great defense. Obviously, Metter was not great. If you watched the Red River rivalry, say that 5 times fast. But John Mateer, is he going to be able to get back on track? You like Oklahoma to pull a mild
Like
upset?
Oklahoma, I'm kind of concerned. I was worried about Mateer coming back too soon. I felt like he, I know what that Red River rivalry meant to him, being able to play in that and whatnot. But part of me was wondering if he kind of rushed himself back. So I'm hoping now that he has been back now a couple of weeks, that maybe this week he kind of looks like how he looked at the beginning of the season when we were talking about him being a Heisman favorite early on. So
Right.
prior to the injury, I like Oklahoma.
Another game with playoff ramifications, Missouri and Vandy. Vandy, it's still funny to say Vandy's top 10, but Vandy's number 10, Missouri's 15. So it's a lot of black, a lot of gold in this game, but it almost feels like loser leaves town, potentially for college football playoff. You buy that?
Yeah, I like that,
2
man.
losses.
That's another game, man. I mean, Missouri, obviously they want to look and get back on track. And Vandy did get back on track last week. So that's a very interesting game for me in the SEC. That might be one of the game of the week for me outside
Right.
of that A&M LSU matchup.
We'll pick Carl's brain on that and get your calls as well. Again, we're going a little extra. No, we used to be a 2 to 7 show. I got to be honest, guys. We're the only show in America that went 5 hours. It's 4 hours. Feels right. We split the difference. We go to 6:30 tonight to get you ready for Hawks pregame. And the Hawks, they better show up. This Hawks team better bounce back. Hawks tonight. Pregame at 6:30. And this Magic team is good. Magic kind of like a year ahead of us as far as the size of the front court. They couldn't shoot the 3 to save their lives. They added 3-point shooting in the offseason. Game after laying a big, fat egg on Wednesday night against the Raptors team we were supposed to. I know it's preseason. We'll talk to Steve Koonin about 440, but man, redeem yourself in week 1, game 2.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Orlando coming in a little more in sync with one another. Obviously, they bring back, Paulo Banchero, Franz Wagner. They have Desmond Bain now, and they opened up with a nice, I
Are
mean,
you
they didn't blow
saying
them
they've
out,
got Bane in Orlando, Day?
but they opened up with that
I hope he
125,
doesn't break.
120
I'm sorry.
win.
I'm going to do Bane over the top of you, and that's very rude. I killed the Batman.
I'm sorry. Hey, man, this
No,
is what happens.
you're good.
3 cups of coffee. Luckily, the coffee wears off by the time I get on it, too.
By the time 2 o'clock rolls around.
You were saying about the Magic Hawks.
Yeah, in their opener, they got 24 out of Banchero, 24 out of Wagner. So again, this is a team. They've obviously their nucleus of young guys have already been together for a little bit of time. So I feel like that's the one up they kind of have on the Hawks. Look, we all agreed the Hawks looked like they were just not in sync. It's not that the talent ain't there. It's about them finding the right rhythm, the right pieces. I'd be interested to see if Onyeka Okongwu comes off the bench once again tonight, because I thought he had a good game coming off the bench. But I wonder how he could, maybe, does Quinn consider inserting him in the starting lineup some kind of way? So we'll see how it goes, man.
All right, man. We got a big show for you. 4.5 hours of action and fun. And if anything breaks, if anybody else drops on this investigation, obviously Chauncey Billups' lawyer says it wasn't me. Rozier, the NBA looks bad because the NBA kind of did an investigation. The Fed's like, not really. So who's going to rat? Who's going to roll? Any big names? We debate. I heard Steakhouse today saying it's still pretty bad optics for the NBA. I mean, if you get LeBron's name is linked to it only because a teammate dropped it to the gamblers. LeBron was going to play. So the headlines are salacious. Look that up if you didn't make it past middle school. But it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. If any more big names come out, or this as far as it goes. Look, wouldn't be the first time the Feds used the splash of the names to try to pump some air into a project. Maybe it's not all cracked up to be, but we'll have to wait and see. Give you the latest on that. BMAC, Steve Koonin, Mark Raimondi, and our coach Raheem Morris interview. If you missed it, that'll be at 6 right here at Dukes and Bell. He is Day. I'm Mike, and we'll see you at 2.